COVID has hit Winnipeg's inner city hard. Climate extremes are on the rise and people are being left behind. Recovering from and being prepared for crises are also opportunities to create a more just and equal city. A just recovery for Winnipeg's inner city means that any plan for its future must hold residents' well-being and the community's priorities at heart. That means good housing, food security, education and jobs, healthcare, justice and safety, a healthy environment, community, and connection. Winnipeg's inner city is home to nearly 128,000 residents. There are so many positive strengths to build on. It is beautiful and vibrant, the city's cultural hub full of public art, architecture, schools, and an amazing number of community organizations serving the community. But there are real needs that have to be addressed. 30% of households fall below the low-income poverty line. 39% of renter households are in core housing need, and a large share of households are food insecure. There are many more compounding problems that create vulnerability. These issues are too big for one person or family to take on alone. Upholding human rights to housing, food, and health requires systemic changes at the community level so that we can better weather storms together to build community resilience. How can we build community resilience? Through intentional public investment. It's been tried before.
Winnipeg has a long history of tri-level funding agreements, but a lot of people don't know about them. When people don't have access to affordable, good quality housing, to good jobs, to resources like daycares, to good quality food, good healthcare, and so on, a crisis like the COVID-19 pandemic is going to have a bigger impact.
Portage Place, the Forks. Have you ever wondered how and why these places came to be? They were funded in the 1980s through tri-level urban development agreements where funding and community planning decisions were made together by municipal, provincial, and federal governments, in big part to reduce urban poverty and revive declining neighborhoods. Governments worked together and it held promise, but it wasn't perfect. Instead of funding infrastructure for people, these agreements mainly funded infrastructure for private business with some promise that benefits would trickle down, but it wasn't enough. The focus on building those buildings was done without a crucial player that should have been right at the heart of this plan, the community itself. Fast forward 40 years and some of the same issues remain. Winnipeg's downtown and inner city need big investments in training and jobs, housing, recreational opportunities, and meeting spaces. We need room for projects that bring to life the visions of organizations and people in the inner city. It's time for a new funding agreement, one that puts community at the heart for the inner city to thrive.
We can reimagine what happens with Portage Place and all of the possible employment opportunities if we build relationships with the residents of this area, learn about all of the skills that they currently have, and design a Portage Place of the future with those skills, abilities, and talents in mind.
My connection with Portage Place is I bought my first tracksuit here, and I work at the Immigrant and Refugee Community Organization of Manitoba.
I think one of my most memorable experiences here at Portage Place was at the beginning of Idle No More, where we had a flash mob round dance here, and we made a statement as Indigenous peoples during the Christmas holiday season to say that we will not be ignored and our relationship to this place will not be forgotten. And from that moment that Idle No More had its first round dance here, I felt such an attachment.
In 1987, Portage Place was thought to be key to creating a thriving downtown. The shops lining north of Portage Avenue were annexed, the land retained by government, and an urban mall was built, funded by $45 million public dollars.
Portage Place was built because of two of those urban development agreements, but the success of the retail, movies, housing, and multipurpose space fell short of the promises.
While its use has changed with time, one thing has stayed constant: its role as a public gathering space.
Portage Place is a community asset. It's a space for traditions of visiting, resistance, and creativity. After all, it was built on Indigenous land.
The neighborhoods that surround the mall are those where immigrants and refugees often settle in Winnipeg, like myself. It is a meeting place for people from all communities. The Portage Place community has the vision and the capacity to turn the mall into a hub that meets the need of the neighborhood. It's not about business, it's about people.
After all we've been through, can't we agree? A just recovery from COVID-19 should shape how we reimagine Portage Place.
In terms of the potential for Portage Place, I think we're at a moment in time where we could really look at what we could do with such a big space in the inner city for community development.
Portage Place and other big places like the vacant Hudson Bay, the rail yards, emptied office buildings downtown, these are opportunities for downtown and inner city Winnipeg to reimagine our future. One that puts the community at the heart of everything. One that puts equity first. Community priorities are clear, and there is so much more work to do. Community-based and social purpose organizations are well placed to address these. They're innovative and collaborative. These organizations deserve a seat at the planning table. Maybe they should be designing the entire table. And they need adequate funding to be there. If history has taught us anything, it's that trying to address complicated local issues without our community experts is a recipe for failure. Attention to the social determinants of health, intersectionality and equity, and Indigenous self-determination are essential components of an equitable and inclusive community, a truly just recovery. Let's dream these concepts into action together.